So people have many questions I hear over and over again about the internet's most complex MMO game, EVE Online. As far as the nitty-gritty details, I am able to answer some of those, but mainly I'm here to sort of point you in the direction of where you can find the answers. Okay, so in no particular order, is scamming really allowed in EVE? Yes, scamming is allowed in EVE. That being said, hacking, botting, and real money trading in EVE are all bannable offenses. But in-game scamming or stealing is part of the experience. If someone is making you an offer too good to be true, be wary. Theft is also allowed in EVE. If you lend someone a ship or give them access to your corporation's station hangars, there is a big risk there. It seems like scams are not as prevalent as they used to be, but watch out for the Hypernet, which is a kind of in-game gambling system. Remember that the house always wins. Also, if you see someone saying, give them 10 million ISK and they'll double it and give it back to you, it is true that they often will several times, until finally they have you giving them 200 mil with promises of doubling it and giving it back, and then they don't give it back. It's a very basic scam. You will also see contract scams. So rather than using the player-driven market, sometimes players will create a contract, which shows up as a clickable link in the local chats for a special deal or package of items. These can be carefully crafted to get you to pay for something worth much less than it appears to be worth. But unlike most, I believe that paranoia, even in EVE, is highly counterproductive. I simply suggest that you trust but verify. Eventually you will forge over time relationships based on trust in EVE. Is EVE Online really free to play, or is it pay to win? Yes, EVE Online is free to play, but with some caveats. Your clones, or player characters, have two states. The alpha state is the free to play state, and the omega state is the paid for or subscribed state. Omega accounts can fly anything in the game pretty much once their skill training is completed for whatever they are training. An alpha account cannot fly certain ships, such as Tech 2 ships, which are ships that are not necessarily better, but they have certain specialties and advantages that are sometimes extremely hard to match with other types of ships. But they can train up to battleship-sized ships, which are pretty big, but not capital ships. Alpha characters can train for most ship modules and weapons, but there are some things that they cannot use. Basically anything you see in the game with this yellow Omega symbol next to it, this is not allowed for an alpha or free-to-play account. Also, you cannot use anything in EVE Online unless you have skilled into it with skill training, which is a timed queue that goes on training even when logged off, but alpha accounts take twice as long as omega accounts for skill training. So for example, if it takes you about 2 weeks to skill train into the nice ship that you wanted, an omega account can train that in about 1 week. Alpha accounts are only allowed up to 5 million trained skill points, but pretty much free, so this is kind of limiting. I would say that only 5 million skill points is still pretty much a new player level. However, alpha accounts can have as many as 20.5 million skill points. It's just that this would be from skill injectors that you would purchase in the game, and this can get pricey. Now, omega accounts can have unlimited trained skill points. And finally, you can run multiple omega accounts at the same time. You can fly them all together if you want to. This is called multi-boxing. This can't be done with alpha accounts. So how much does an omega account cost? If you pay only month by month, this is $19.95 US. Prepay for 3 months, it comes down to $15.99 US per month. If you prepay for half a year, it's $14.49, and it progressively goes lower the more you prepay. Of course, this is without any specials, promos, or referral programs taken into consideration, which can happen quite frequently. There is a way for you to pay your Omega account without opening up your wallet at all, and that is with in-game ISK, or Interstellar Credits. These are the credits you earn in the game with your various activities. If you're really good enough to earn upwards of 1.2 billion or more a month, you can buy Omega game time directly in-game. Some people are actually good enough at making ISK in-game to do this, but this takes knowledge and dedication. and it's far out of reach for the average EVE player. Now, is all this pay to win? Well, it's true Omega accounts offer a great advantage, and if you are serious about really experiencing EVE Online, you should have an Omega account. But when you say win, what do you mean exactly? Do you mean win on the player market, in player versus player combat, or in some kind of war? Winning is kind of ambiguous, and I'll get into what it means to win a bit later in this video. But there are ways to become wealthy and powerful even with an alpha account. For example, one way is to join Faction Warfare, which does involve quite a bit of combat even in PvP, but you can gain loyalty points in Faction Warfare in Danger Space with one of the 4 major empires or 2 major pirate groups, and this only requires a Tech 1 ship. That's not particularly expensive at all, but can be fit to be very effective in that arena with an alpha clone. And while it's true you certainly will lose battles on occasion, or maybe often, you still can earn a lot of ISK and keep buying your ships that way. So that is one way. Another way is, well, I won't reveal too many secrets yet. So in my opinion, it's not pay to win. What race should I pick when I start? When players start, they're given a race selection screen. The Gallente Federation, the Caldari State, the Amarr Empire, and the Minmatar Republic. The differences between these I've explained in another video, which I will hopefully remember to link in the description, but the game presents this race selection as if it's foundational to your gameplay when it really isn't. All this does is determine your starting location in the New Eden Star Cluster. This is pretty much your training base as a new player. The university you train at gives you several ships as you go through the training, and those ships will be of the design of the starting empire. So for example, if you choose freedom, democracy, liberty, and go with the Gallente Federation, well, these guys are actually sort of democratic crusaders, but you will eventually be gifted frigates such as the Tristan, the Imicus, etc. So this kind of comes down to an aesthetic choice as well. But later on you may train for any type of ship you want from any empire, any pirate faction, or even mysterious precursor factions. So in the long run, it really doesn't matter. Choose the race with the culture and aesthetics that you like best. Just remember not to get too locked into training only for that race's ships, because you will want to be able to fly other ships sooner than later. How do I fit my ship? Now this is a loaded question, and people have made hours of videos on how to do this. There are certain right and wrong ways to fit a ship for sure. For example, if you have a ship with gun turrets, as a rule you don't want different types of guns mixed together on that ship, and certain ships are designed for specific types of weapons. I mean, you can put lasers on a blaster ship like the Merlin, but it's not benefiting that ship at all, because the Merlin is bonused for hybrid weapons, not laser weapons. Fitting a ship depends highly on what you will use it for. You might use it for PvE, so this could be mission running, combat site running, etc., or PvP, which almost always includes some sort of warp disruption to prevent escape, and highly tactical and strategic choices. You might fit the ship to do nothing but haul cargo, or travel really fast through dangerous areas of space. Now perhaps the ship is only fit for mining asteroids or salvaging wreckage. There are different kinds of tanking, such as armor, shield, and hull tanking, different weapons ranges, different control and support devices, etc. So that other than consulting with those who actually know, I know, but I don't have time to explain it all to you, I'll make it easier for you to figure it out on your own if you're still clueless about this. First, of course, look at the ship's information, like this Amarrian Mauler class cruiser. You'll notice right here below the ship description are the ship characteristics. This is a combat ship. It favors laser turrets and armor tank. Likewise, you can see some bonuses to laser systems and armor resistance, which increases for every level of Amarr cruiser that you have. So then simulate the ship in the fitting simulator, learn about the fitting simulator, and get to know its features. Hit the little wrench icon on the top right of the fitting simulator, find the ship you're simulating by searching the ship's name, and expand. You may not have any fits here, but hopefully if you've not screwed around with the filters, you'll see some community fits. there's actually a community fit here for the Mauler. These community fits are added by the devs, but were once player fits proven to work for their given role. So it may or may not be the exact fit you want depending on what you want to do, but at least it gives you kind of a foundation on how to fit it properly without breaking any of the fundamental rules. And you can then tweak the fit however you like. And in this case, this is a basic, cheap, armored explorer by Limo, and it's even Nubro or alpha friendly. And ship fits can be copied, pasted, imported, or exported in and out of the game, which means on sites like EVE Workbench, you can research fits online and just import them into your game, no problem. How do I figure out what to do in EVE? Again, another loaded question, and actually I did make another video about the EVE Online career chart a while ago, but in my experience I find that the career path people take in EVE is largely dependent on their personality. For example, I tend to be highly curious, warrior-minded, imaginative, and ambitious, so when I first started, I learned all about exploration and dipped my toes into PvP, whereas now I'm pretty much 90% Starship PvP in a slightly pirate-like sense. This is not for everyone though. Now I'm not that organized, and some people are highly organized and really love numbers. Such people would make great marketeers and manufacturers. Others are more like furry dwarf neckbeards who are placid but social and charming. They don't like to move very much. Now these guys and gals are the perfect miners. They can sit on an asteroid for hours and socialize and be perfectly happy. Some people want to do nothing but ambitiously be leaders just for the sake of leadership. It doesn't matter what kind of leader, so in their mind they will have all kinds of complex social goals and ambitions. And then there are some people who laugh at the face of honor and think like jackals. These are the perfect gankers and scammers. All of these options are open to you, but simply for the mechanics of playing the game, I recommend that when you start, run through all the basic career agents at your starting system. This gives you an idea of all the basic activities to pursue in EVE. After you've run through these level 1 career agents, reflect on what you felt most satisfied with. Was it exploration, security and combat, mining? Then from there, you can find several communities in the game that will support you on those paths. To find career agents, click on Activities, the Agency, Agents and Missions, and then Career Agents. These training missions will take you through the basic types of activities in EVE, aside from ship-to-ship PvP pretty much. How do I make money, or ISK, or interstellar credits, in EVE? At first glance, sometimes it seems like the game of EVE for many is all about the accumulation of wealth. I assure you, it can be about much more than that, but yes, this is a foundational and necessary aspect of the game. One thing that intermediate level players love to do is brag about how much ISK they are making and how much ISK they have, and that you should do whatever they are doing to make it. Well, perhaps, but keep in mind that the guy who claims to be making something like 500 mil or more an hour, if he's telling you the truth, probably knows what he's doing and probably has fully trained his character skills for what he's doing, and he's probably dropped some good coin on the kit to be able to do what he's doing. A prime example would be resisting Sancha pirate incursions. And for years this has been touted as one of the easiest and best ways to make ISK in EVE, but you need to be well trained into a decent battleship to participate. You need to have this battleship, and it needs to be fit in the way the incursion fleet wants you to fit it. And finally, you have to do what you're told in that fleet. And then many often get quite burnt out on running these incursions. So there are many other options to do stuff. But what it comes down to is two things. You spend money to make money, and high risk equals high reward. My advice is to do what you like to do to make ISK in EVE. Exploration and combat sites was my way of making ISK for years before finally transitioning to more of a long-term market trading plan and other things. Miners of the tranquil disposition prefer kind of the slow boat to China, and on paper they may not be earning much at all per hour, but over time they accumulate wealth because it's a very low risk activity. and this can really pay off, especially if they expand their little industrial empire. So my advice is to earn ISK doing what you love to do. Am I safe in this area of space, wherever that happens to be? Honestly, no, you are not. If your ship is undocked, there is a chance it will be lost totally, even in the most secured and policed areas of the game. Don't let this keep you from undocking though. So let me break down the security levels of different areas of space quickly. There is high security space, or HiSec. These are security levels from 1.0 to 0.5, and this is where everyone spawns when they first begin in a 1.0 system. I will note that aggressive actions in rookie systems are actually banned, so wherever you're spawning as a new player, aggressive acts there are banned. But these HiSec systems are patrolled by the all-powerful Concord NPC police, whose job it is to keep capsuleers, you players, in check within reason. HiSec also has the Empire faction's navies there to attack people with negative standings toward their empires, so criminal or not, if you have done something to piss off a major empire, they will try to send their navies at you. They're less powerful than the Concord police, but almost certainly dangerous enough to kill you. If anyone aggressively attacks you without provocation, Concord will swoop in, and they are so powerful they will certainly destroy the attacker. In LowSec, or low security space of 0.4 to 0.1 security status, there is no Concord police and no Imperial navies. The only protection you may have are sentry guns around stargates and NPC stations. Here another player is free to kill you as they please and then go on about their business. The only penalty they get is to their security level, which may fall to bright red criminal levels. This means that they will no longer be able to dock at a HiSec station, and they'll always be hunted by the NPC police in HiSec space, although if their ship is fast they may be able to blow through there without any consequence. And then there's NullSec, which is typically owned by players, and this is 0.0 or lower. This has no Concord police, no sentry guns, and no record that designates anyone as criminal for aggressive actions. Now, NullSec can either be really busy or have vast expanses where you won't see anyone, and if you're part of a large player alliance, you're under the protection of that alliance, and sometimes they're even a bit more secure than HiSec. So NullSec really is a mixed bag for safety. And finally, there's Wormhole Space, which are systems only accessible via wormholes, with no stargates. Again, here this is like NullSec. People are free to engage who they wish without criminal flagging or protection from NPCs. Now, all that being said, you can still be harmed in HiSec because it takes some seconds, up to 20 in 0.5 systems, for Concord to respond on your behalf. So even in the highest security rated systems, if someone has the firepower to alpha strike your ship in one volley, Concord can't help you at all. And yes, they will destroy the attacker in retribution, but this is often expected to sacrifice their ship just to gank yours and take the haul. Keep in mind that this is pretty unlikely to happen if you're carrying nothing of great value in your ship, but ships that carry billions worth of cargo through heavily trafficked areas are at great risk of being ganked in some way. But it's very rarely worth the time to gank a new player. Should I join a player corporation, and which one? I recommend that you make this decision after completing all the career agents with some clue about what you want to do in EVE. I suggest you join an active corporation that aligns with your personal goals. Corporations with an active Discord server are the best. Many corporations cater to new players, especially if you still feel like you have no idea what's going on after some weeks. You can join something like EVE University to learn more about the game in general. But being in a corporation can expose you to knowledge and techniques that are well worth it, and sometimes benefit you financially depending on their activities. Don't join corporations with tax rates much higher than 10%. Now, these taxes go from missions and bounties to the corp coffers. It's understandable that corporations tax you for this, but sometimes people are just farming the taxes from you. and on rare occasions, tyrants will set up corporations just to put the miners to work, when they may have done better on their own without knowing. If you already know some people who play the game, I suggest that you team up with them, because as it is, it takes a very long time to really cultivate friendship and trust in the game. The best ship in the game is friendship, after all. Are there really PvP fights between thousands of players? Oh yes, these major battles most often take place in nullsec over player-owned space, but also could be fought over player-owned stations with strategic value. Now, it's somewhat rare, but once every year or two, you will see a random battle escalate involving thousands of players or even tens of thousands. These usually involve all manner of ships, up to Titan capital ships, but these days you will certainly see many dreadnoughts. Sometimes the server node is strained from so much activity in that system, so the developers implement time dilation, which deliberately slows down time in that area of space, and this gives the server time to calculate all the weapons hits and maneuvers of the ships involved in the battle. Now, the destruction in these battles is immense, reaching hundreds of thousands in equivalent US dollars when converted from game money. The average EVE player is often oblivious to these battles when they happen. After all, they have their own little problems to worry about. In the final question, can I win at EVE? Many people I respect claim to have won EVE, but honestly, this is bullshit. You don't win at EVE, you simply find an excuse to stop playing that is in your mind a positive reason. Most people consider this a certain wealth goal, or something like stealing trillions of ISK from so-and-so alliance, or perhaps they manipulated the market in some way to make trillions of ISK, or perhaps they betrayed and took down some alliance with 30,000 players. Some goal to them that is significant. The opposite is more often true. People lose at EVE, they find an excuse to stop playing that is negative driven. Perhaps they lost a number of ships or a station or something like that. Now, winning at EVE is highly fluid and personal. For example, if I owned half the assets in EVE Online, or if I were the wealthiest man in EVE, to me this isn't winning EVE. Because I still love ship-to-ship combat in a small gang setting, and I have a far from perfect record in that area. And no amount of ISK can really change that. This is also why EVE is not pay to win either. My thinking is, even if you have trillions of ISK, if you come find me in my Federation Navy Comet in an equivalent frigate worth only about 30 mil, and if you haven't fit your own PvP frigate in some time, or if you have no clue how to fit it, then you are going to lose, and that would make me a winner and you a loser, wouldn't it? Someone may be brilliant in one aspect or another of EVE Online, but absolute hot garbage in another aspect. I have seen this kind of hubris all the time. Someone rich and powerful who owns many capital ships and some nullsec alliance often has no clue how to fight and win in a small gang pirate setting. So no, you can't win at EVE. You can only stop playing if you call that winning. I mean, by that logic, I also won at EVE once. I created the best exploration corp in EVE many years ago, and it was successful. Great. So then I kind of quit for about 4 months. Came back, and turned it into a PvP corp. And although we have victories there, little wins there, it's never over. The game keeps going. We win at this, we win at that, we lose over there, we win over there, we lose over here, we win again, and it just never ends. Thank you for watching, Space Friends. It's been one hell of a year. I've experienced a lot of personal growth over the past year and a half, and this will be the last video of the year. I look forward to seeing you after the holidays and in 2025. Really looking forward to making more EVE content, Star Trek content, and perhaps some Star Wars content, more spaceship content in general. I'm still taking custom render requests at patreon.com/resurrected. So feel free to support the channel there, only if you're able. I would really appreciate it. If not, please comment on the video. That'll help me out a lot. Give the video a like and subscribe. And if you want to, share it with your friends for information purposes about EVE Online. See you next year, space friends.